Okay. Now, the two looping control structures we have studied, while and do while. Understood those concepts? Any doubts? Which one is entry controlled among those two? And what about do while? Exit controlled. What is the difference between the entry and exit controlled? Last student. What is the difference between entry controlled and exit controlled? Yourself. Last. What is there in your hand? What is the difference between entry controlled and exit controlled? Yes, miss? Have you attended the classes? Yes. So what is entry controlled and exit controlled? Close the door. There. Is this first class? Is this your first class? Yes. What were you doing still these many days? What is your good name? Mandar Patil. You could have taken admission next year then. Miss, yourself? Yeah. What is the difference between entry controlled and exit controlled? Execution is done at the beginning. Okay. Okay. Can anyone improvise her answer? Raise your hands. Her answer is partially correct, but the words what she has used in the making the sentences is, raise your hands first. Those who can answer to the question, difference between what actually we mean by entry controlled and exit controlled. Yes.
Sir, in entry control, the condition is checked at the beginning, and if the condition is true, then the statement inside the loop will be printed. And in exit control, the condition is checked after the loop, and even if the initial condition is false, the statement will be printed.
Okay. So now tell me, what is the difference between entry controlled and exit controlled? Condition is checked? Beginning. Where? In which construct? Entry controlled. Then? Yourself. If initial condition is false, will the entry control loop gets executed? Yes. What about you? If the initial condition is false, will the entry control loop gets executed? No. And you are telling it is yes. How it is? Sit down. Sit. Entry control means at the entrance. Assume that at the entrance of the gate, we are validating for checking your ID card. If your identity card is valid, you belongs to this college, then you will be entered inside the campus at the entrance if it is happening. Okay, so that is entry control. So inside, when you are entering into the campus, if we validate your ID card at the entrance, if it is valid, if it is true, you will be get inside. Okay, now at the entrance, if it is false in the sense you are not holding the valid identity card, then will the security will allow you to enter into the campus? No. So like this, you need to remember the concepts of the programming language with respect to the real world scenarios. Okay, exit controls. Then how can we specify some examples for exit control? If you go to a hotel, Will they initially ask you to pay amount? You pay the amount only, then only you get inside the hotel. Do they ask? Do they do like that? No. What they will do, what you will do, you will enter into the hotel. You can eat n number of items, right? Once you eat everything, then they will give the bill. If you don't provide the bill at the end, that is exit control. If you don't provide the bill, then they don't allow you to go outside, right? So that is something we can say a kind of a exit control. At the time of leaving the code execution, the condition will be validated. If the condition is still true, then you can repeat the things. If the condition becomes false, then you have to come out of the loop. Okay. Now, three examples or the three different types of the control structures we had studied in the looping. Okay, one was examples we have studied, and among those three examples, two we have already studied. One is the while, and the other one is the do while. If you notice in that one, in while and do while, we have talked about three things. First one is, let me write over here, initial value. That is something, can we call it to be a initialization? Initialization for counter, that is first one. Then second is condition, and then obviously the body of the loop, and then what is the one more important statement? Updation. Isn't it? In the updation, what we perform? Increment or decrement. Isn't it? Now, if you observe keenly the while and do while, before we write while, we take care of initial value. Yes or no? Before we write while, we take care of initial value. The same thing holds good even in the do while loop. In the do while loop also, this initialization of the counter will be done before writing the do keyword. Yes or no? Yes or no? Are you following what I'm trying to say here? Whenever we write a program, shall I show you, open the program and show you? Okay. See, this is a simple while loop, right? Now, this is what? Initialization of the counter. Yes or no? Yes? Okay. Then let me open the other program for do while. Let's say this one. Okay. Now, this is the initialization of the counter. Yes? Where is it written? Is it written before the do? Yes. What about in while? Is it before? Is it written before the while? Yes. Okay. Then let's come to the other part. Condition. Condition statement is written depending upon what type of the construct it is. If it is a entry controlled, then at the beginning we write. If it is the exit controlled, then we write at the end. If you look into the while loop, since it is the entry controlled, the condition is written at the entrance. Correct? Then if it is a do while loop, the condition is written at the exit. Correct? Okay. Next. Body of the loop, that is this part. The after while, opening and closing flower brackets, whatever statements we write, that will be considered as what? Body of the loop. Same thing applies in the do while loop. Between this do and while, there is a pair of a flower brackets. Between this, whatever statements we write, that acts as the body of the loop. Basically, body of the loop means the statements which have to be executed repeatedly until the condition is true. Okay, now, and the fourth point is updation. What is that updation? Increment or decrement to the counter variable, right? We want to handle to a certain extent. We don't want to run the repeatedly execution for an infinite time. We want to stop at a particular position, right? To handle that one, we have taken the updation statement inside the body of the loop in the while. If you look at this statement, counter plus plus, what it is actually, it is the updation. We are incrementing the counter value, isn't it? Now, if you look into the do while loop, there also within the body of the loop, there is a updation statement, that is increment or a decrement statement, right? These, the three things, that is, first one is the counter, initial value of the counter in while and do while is written before writing the loop, right? And then we write the while or a do while. And updation is written within the body of the loop. Second point. Third is the condition, depending upon what type of the construct it is. If it is a while loop, we write at the beginning. If it is the do while loop, we write at the end, that is at the exit. Now, sometime what may happen is that while writing the program, we may miss to write the entry point, that is initial value, we may miss to write. And sometime it may happen that we may miss to write the statement related to the updation. If we forget to write the updation, the loop will go for an infinite times. To avoid this constraint, there is another type of a looping statement. What we call it to be a for loop. F-O-R. For is a key word in C programming language. The advantage of this for loop, again, the one thing we need to remember, for loop is also an entry controlled loop. That means what? If the initial condition is true, then only it will enter into the loop and it will execute the statement. If the initial condition is false, will it enter into the loop? It will not, because it is a entry controlled. The condition is checked at the beginning. If the condition is true, it will allow you to enter into the loop and then execute the program. If the condition is false, it will not allow. But how it is different from the while and do while is that the initialization and the updation are written in a single line, Okay, I will show you the syntax of the while loop as well as how it executes. Okay, now let me share the screen for the online students so that they can also watch this. Okay, online students, is it visible now for you? Can anyone confirm? Okay. Now, just take a minute and see what is written there. What are the numbers written there? Then I will explain this particular execution of the for loop. Look at it. Online students, pay attention to the statements what I explained there. There is a keyword called as a for, right? So for means this is the statement where all the three checks will be done. All the three sub statements will be executed. If you look at here in the for, there is an open bracket and there is a corresponding closing bracket. We call basically this type of bracket to be a parenthesis. Okay. Then inside this one, there are three more sub statements which are separated by semicolon. Do you see this semicolon here? Yes, there is one statement separated by semicolon, then another statement, semicolon, and the third statement. What is this first statement? Initialization. Now tell me, what we mean by this initialization here? What is that initialization we have studied in the while and do while? Giving the initial value to the counter variable, right? Counter equal to 1, counter equal to n, I equal to 1, we had written, right? That we used to write before the while or before the do while. But in the for loop, it is written inside the for statement itself as the first statement here, initialization. Like we can write for counter equals to 1. Okay, then semicolon is mandatory. If we miss to write semicolon, the compiler will give syntax errors. Then, what is there in the second condition? Now, what this condition means now? In while and do while, after writing the while word, we used to write the condition, right? The same condition, the similar type of the condition has to be written at the second statement. Like if you want to print the numbers from 1 to 10, then I will become 1 here in the initial part. I equal to 1.
as the initialization. Then condition, we want to print how many times? 10 times, that is I less than or equal to 10 will become the condition. After writing that I less than or equal to 10 as a condition, mandatory will provide again a second that will separate from the next statement. So the third statement is what here? Updation. In the updation here, what we need to do? We need to increment or decrement? Increment. What variable we have to increment? Counter variable. In this case, if I take the counter variable to be I, then it will become I plus this. Okay. Now, what we need to remember is that for open bracket and close bracket, within that we need to write three statements, and all those three statements should be separated by semicolons. How many semicolons will come inside the for statement? Two semicolons. Right? First is the initialization, second is the condition, and the third is updation. That is increment or delete or any other operations we write. Okay. Now, how this particular for loop works? Now, pay attention. There are certain numbers written here, right? For each of the flow of execution, like the arrow marks whatever are there. For each of these arrow marks, there are certain numbers. Means one means what here? There will be some other statements which will be executed, and once we reach the for loop, now we have what? There is a for keyword. There are three different statements: initialization, condition, updation, and then there is a body of the loop. How these statements are going to be executed? How to understand? First, once it enters into the for loop, now try to understand or think what happens in the while and do while. Initialization works like initially before the while. The same thing here. Once it enters into the for, initialization will work. Means the statement related to the initialization will be executed. Once the initialization statement is executed, then the control will go to the condition. The flow is this for execute initialization statement. Once the initialization statement is executed, then execute the condition. Now, since it is a condition, what will be the result of this condition? True or false. Means there can be only two possibilities. If it is a true, it has to perform some operations. If it is a false, it has to perform some other operations. Now let us pay attention for the first type, that is true. If this condition is true, then we know that it is a entry controlled looping structure. Means if this condition is true, it has to go inside its loop. Means this open bracket. From here, it has to start execution of the statements from top to down. And once it encounters the closing bracket, means the body of the for loop is completed. Next, it has to go to the updation. It has to go to the updation. In the updation, now what happens here? Either increment the counter variable or decrement the counter. Once that updation statement is executed, we want to again repeat. When we want to repeat, if the condition is still true, means after this updation is done, then the control again will go to the condition statement itself. It will go to the condition. Again, we know that the condition is again there will be two possibilities, one as a true or false. If it is again true, what has to be done? Again, execute the statement within this body of the for loop. Execute from again top to bottom. Complete all the statement execution, and then again come back and then do the updation. That is again increment or increment, whatever you know written that. Once the updation is done, go back and then check the condition again. Now assume at this time the condition is false. What has to be done? Should it allow for execution of its body? No. Means it has to skip the for loop statement and it should come out of the for loop. Means after this statement, whatever remaining statements are there, those statements will be executed. The flow is now in this explanation. What did you understand about this initialization? How many times this initialization will be executed? How many times this initialization statement will be executed? Is it only once or multiple times? Only once. Because once the initial value is given, its part is true. The condition will be valid. If the condition is true, these statements. Once all the statement execution are done, it will come back and then again check the updation. Once updation is done, then check the condition again. If it is true, then repeat the process. From here condition, statement execution, updation. Then again condition. Then again the same will be repeated. How long? Condition is true. If the condition becomes false, it will skip the looping. All the statements will be skipped and it will come out of the. Now, do you think that is it an advantage? It has any advantage than the while and do while do? If you look into this for statement, the initial value, the condition, and the updation are all written at one particular time. So there is no mess up of writing the initial values before or the updation in the body. We can write only the statement related to the for loop, what actually it has to do. All other steps, all the three steps will be taken place inside the for loop is the one which is most widely used in the programming concepts. We want to write the looping construct. Okay, we do also use the other also, but this is one of the widely used looping construct. Is this understood? Yes, understood. Now let us simply write a program to print numbers from 1 to 10. Then I will take up a next program. Let us understand the program first. Okay, program for multiplication table. Already we have written the program on this using while loop and do while loop as well, right? Let us try to write the same program using the for loop. Now, I have written the other parts here, like int n. N is what? The number whose multiplication table we are going to write. Then what about this I? Counter variable, right? Then printf, enter a number and then read that particular number. Okay. Pay attention. Don't write down as of now. Pay attention. Okay. Then printf multiplication table of that particular n will be displayed. Now here, after this, we need to write our for. Okay. Now we have studied that for loop means a for will be there, right? Then within these brackets, let me write the flower bracket and close bracket like this. Then here within this parenthesis, that is for statement, we need to write three substatements. What is first one? Initialization. So initialization here, variable is I. We need to print the multiplication table here. That is, suppose if you enter number n as a 4. So 4 into 1, then 4 into 2, 4 into 3, like that. It has to keep on calculating and printing up to 4 into 10. So what will be the initial value? 1. So here I equals to 1 will be the first statement that will act as initialization. After writing the initialization, next what I should write? Semicolon. Semicolon. Correct? Then second statement is what? Condition. Now condition will determine how long we are going to execute repeatedly the body of the for loop. Now here the condition will become what? 1 less than or equal to 10. I less than or equal to 10. I less than or equal to 10. After that, semicolon. Next, updation. So updation means which variable I have to take now? I. What should I do? Increment or decrement? I plus plus. Right? So all the statements related to the initialization, then the condition, and then the updation are written in one line. That will make programmer's life easy. Okay. Now, next what I need to do, I need to simply write the statements which have to be repeated until the condition is true. Now here multiplication table I want to do, then what I need to calculate and print now? In one line I can do, or we can write in two different lines. First we need to calculate the product, right? 4 into 1,
that 4 or 4 into 2, that is 8, we need to store into a variable. Instead of that, directly we can write those calculation in the printf statement like this. Printf double quote open. Now I want to print the number whose multiplication table I am writing, right? So that is percentage D now. Okay, then multiplied by percentage D, then equals to percentage D, that is the result, right? This is the number, this is multiplication, that I value, that is 1, 2, 3 up to 10, and this is the result, that is the product. After writing one line, I need to go on to the next line, so /n, then double quote complete. Okay, now I need to write 3 different variables after this comma. Why only 3? Because there are 3 percentage here, right? Format specifier. Now this percentage, the first one is responsible for which variable? N. So here first will be N, then comma. Second one is for I. Third is for product, right? But we have not written any statement or a variable which will store the product value. But product means what here? N into I. Yes or no? Like if I take a variable like this, suppose if I take a variable, say P as the product or the result, whatever you say result. Okay. So here I would be writing some statement like result equal to N into I. And then I would be writing here as result. Correct? Now, I can skip writing this particular statement. I can remove this one, and even I don't require this res variable. Directly here in this place, I can write N into I. N into I. So whatever this value gets calculated, the result will be substituted at this percentage D. Okay, now let us save the program here. Let us run the program and check how it works. GCC 28, I think here. Yes. No errors. Enter a number, say 4. Right? Is it printing correctly? Yes. Now look into the statements here, how it works. Okay. Now, since it is a for loop, entry control loop, first statement gets executed is what? I equals to 1. How many times this statement will be executed? Only once. Once this is done, where does the control goes to? Condition, that is this statement, I less than or equal to 10. Now this statement will be executed. Now here, what is the result of this statement? True or a false? True. True means, should it enter into the loop or it should skip it? Enter into the loop. Means it will enter into the for loop. So here, there is only one statement to be displayed. So what is statement here? Printf. But if you look into here, printf, there is arithmetic operation is also there. So first this arithmetic operations will be calculated as N into I. That will be taken first. And then it will start printing all the values. So first is here N value. N value in this case is 4. So 4 is printed. Then star, that is multiplication symbol, is printed. Then percentage D, second one. Second one is for I here. I value is what now? 1. So 4 into 1 equals to, then the percentage D here, that is 4 into I, that is 4. So 4 into 1 equal to 4 is printed on the first line here. Okay, then once the body of this for loop is done,
Your voice is not
goes back to where? Updation, that is this statement, updation. So here updation means I plus plus. It is a post increment, means next time when you use I has to be incremented by 1. What is the present value of I? 1. So next time means after this, where does the control goes back to? After this updation is statement is executed, Where does the control goes? Condition. Here again. Now here, this time, what will be the value of I? 2. So what will be the result of the condition? Result of the condition, true or false? True. True means it will enter into the, again, for loop. So what it has to do? It has to print this one. So this time, again, n is 4. 4 into I. I is what now? 2. 4 into 2 equals to 8. That 8 gets calculated by this formula. Right? Then slash n will be displayed. Then where does again the control goes now? Updation. Now I plus plus. Next time when you use I, it has to be incremented by 1. So after executing the updation, where will it go again? Flow of execution. Condition. Now again condition is validated now. This time what will be value of I? 3. So the condition will become true or false? True. True means again it has to enter into the loop and then keep on repeating these statements. Okay. Now suppose it has repeated for 10 times. For the 10th time it is displaying here like 4 into 10 is equals to 40. After its execution is completed, then it will go to the updation. That is I plus plus. So next time when we use this I value, it will be incremented by 1. So this condition will become what now? False, because 11 less than or equal to 10 is false. Since the condition become false, now what has to be done? Will it again go inside this for loop and execute, or it will skip? It will skip. Skip means after this flower bracket, if any statements are there, those statements will be executed. Understood? Now suppose if I change this 10 to 20, how many times this loop will be executed? 20 times. 20 times it will be executed. Okay. Now if I make this as this way, I greater than or equal to 10, how many times now this loop will be executed? Interesting, right? How many times? It won't. It will never enter into the loop. Why it will never enter into the loop? Because the first time the condition itself becomes false. So it will not enter into the loop. If you compile and run the program, that is compile and then run the program, enter a number 4, multiplication table of 4 is printed. After that, it enters into the for loop. It looks for the statement I equal to 1 is done. Then I greater than or equal to 10. So I value is 1. 1 greater than or equal to 10 is false. So it will skip the while loop itself. Isn't it now entry control here? At the entry level, at the entrance point of the for loop, the condition is evaluated. If it is false, it will never enter inside the for loop. If it is true, then only it will enter into the for loop and then executes the program. Following? Understood? You need to remember the flow of execution in the for loop. First thing, the for statement will have 3 substatements. First one is initialization, second is condition, and the third is updation. The initialization will be executed only once. Once that is done, the next is condition will be validated. Depending upon the condition result, if it is a true, then the loop will get executed and then the control goes to the updation. Once the updation statement is executed, then again the condition will be validated. If it is true, then repeat this execution of these statements recursively, one after the one. It will keep on executing. Once the condition becomes false, then the looping statement will terminate. Terminate means it will not enter into this loop. It will come out of the looping statement. Understood? Yes? Okay. Now write down this program. Print numbers from, let me change it. print multiplication table of a given number using for loop. The students who are attending online can write